Hi, I'm Wade Wingler with the Indata Project at Easter Seals Crossroads in Indiana. This is the third in our video series about simple ways to make your website more accessible. In the first video, we talked a little bit about why it's important to make your website accessible and showed you a screen reader and how folks who are blind or visually impaired might use technology to visit your website. In the second video, we talked about the Wave toolbar, which is a very simple and easy to use tool that might help you automate some of those processes and research more about how to decide about the accessibility of your website or how to improve the accessibility of your website. In this video, we're going to spend a little time, and this will be the shortest of the videos, talking about the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So I'm going to do a little alphabet soup for you here. The W3C, the WAI. The W3C is the World Wide Web Consortium, and they are a long-standing international group of people who have developed the standards that the web works on. So the fact that we have a www and a .com and a .org and those kind of language in our world today are the result of the work of the World Wide Web Consortium over the years. They kind of build the ground rules for the internet. Within the W3C, or the World Wide Web Consortium, there is a group called WAI, or the Web Accessibility Initiative. And they're interested in making browsers more accessible, making web content more accessible, really making the web a more accessible place for folks with disabilities, for folks who use assistive technology. And then the last thing here is the WCAG, or WCAG for short, and those are the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. This is a set of guidelines that's been revised and updated over the years. It's currently in version 2.0, and it provides lots and lots of technical details about how to create web content that's accessible. So we're going to go to the W3C's website here, and we're going to check out what they have. So if you go to www.w3c.org/WAI for Web Accessibility Initiative, you're going to land on this page. And you'll find that there's a lot of information about web accessibility and why, and lots of details, as well as kind of the cutting edge news that's coming out related to web accessibility. The area of the website that I'm most interested in today is this section, Guidelines and Techniques. And as we go to the section of the website, you're going to see WCAG. You're going to see the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And if I click on WCAG 2.0, it will take me to a document that has all the guidelines. And as I scroll down here, I'll get past the top of the document, which describes the project and the status of the document. And then it gets into the various sections of web accessibility and some of the technical details. There's a priority system and a hierarchy of guidelines and how they're to be implemented. But if we start looking here, under Guideline 1.1, it's text alternatives. And on the previous video where we showed some issues with our website, this is the #1 thing that we ran into. We have some images that don't have text alternatives. And this is Guideline 1.1. It's the most important thing that you can do. The next thing is Guideline 1.2, which is about time-based media. The next one then is about being adaptable and creating content that could be presented in different ways. I'm going to back up to 1.1, however, here, because each section of the guidelines will tell you what the guideline is, why it's important, and then over here is a link that I find really important called How to Meet. And what it does is take the parts of Guideline 1.1 and break it down into lots and lots and lots of technical detail. It includes code-level examples for programmers to know how to implement these changes. So if you ran the Wave toolbar and found out that you're missing alt tags or you need to provide alternative content for non-text items, this will give you all the level of detail that you would ever need to go in and make those changes. And it's not just for that one particular guideline, it goes through the entire set of guidelines, and there are lots and lots and lots of them, and talks about how to make it better. So for example, here's a thing on using color, another set of guidelines about audio control, some guidelines about contrast. Now, in addition to having this website set up so that you can go through the guidelines one at a time, you can search for guidelines and find them. Another section that I really like on this website is about is about techniques. And if you go here to Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, over here you'll find a link over to techniques. And the thing that I find interesting about this is it breaks away from just the one after another technical standards in terms of how the guidelines are laid out, but it gives you some really helpful ideas to make your website more accessible. So for example, adding a link at the top of each page that goes directly to the main content area. A lot of websites, especially news websites, have dozens and dozens of links at the top, and here's a very simple suggestion about making a link that'll skip all that stuff and get you down to the main content. Talks about allowing content to be paused and restarted from where it was paused. Talks about allowing users to complete an activity without a time limit. So in addition to the guidelines, it gives you a great list of techniques and ideas for ways to make your website more accessible. So I encourage you to spend some time looking at the WCAG and learning more about what's available there. Some ongoing resources that I want to make sure you have available to you are these. Obviously, I've got a link there at the top to the w3c.org/WAI, which is kind of what I consider the gold standard of knowing about web accessibility. But a couple of places that I like to monitor is on Twitter. If you search for the A11Y hashtag, you'll find moment-to-moment conversations about that. Also, if you go to the A11yproject.com, you'll find developers talking about web accessibility topics all the time. A11y, by the way, is kind of internet shorthand for the word accessibility. If you take the letter A and the letter Y and put 11 letters in there, that spells the word accessibility. So A11Y is just shorthand for the word accessibility. It starts with an A, it ends with a Y, and there are 11 letters missing. So those are some real basic things about web accessibility. We hope you've enjoyed the videos. If you're interested in talking with us more about web accessibility, or if you need a recommendation or a link to somebody in your area who's an expert on web accessibility, let us know. You can visit our website at eastersealstech.com, and there's all kinds of ways to contact us there. So thanks again for watching our videos. I'm Wade Wingler with the Data Project at Easter Seals Crossroads in Indiana.